Okay, I have been told that I am on. Yes. What's up, y'all? And welcome to Friends from Work. Oh my goodness, what a day. It's just me on the solo today, and it's been quite a day. I tried to run. The reason we got a late start today is I tried to run and pick up a prescription in the middle of a mini snowstorm here in Denver. Hey, Julia, how are you, my dear? And I'm on my way up there, and I get the second follow-up phone call from the pharmacy, and you know that's never good. You know they're never like, we were just calling to let you know we really, all of us pharmacists here, we really appreciate your business. So I'm like halfway there, and they're like, "There's a problem. Your doctor's office is not answering." And I'm like, "Can you just fill the prescription for the love of God?" Um, So I went up there 40 minutes one way, did not get my prescription, came back, got a little bit of a late start, but you know what? There was a little beauty in the world today. I had to get a bunch of snow uh, off of the car, and there was a guy that was shoveling his driveway, and I was cleaning my car off with a piece of cardboard, and that's not what they want you to use. And he walked over and gave me a brush, and it was just one of those like little acts of humanity. I don't know how much English my man spoke, but you don't need any English when you see a black man using the cardboard backing of some headlights that he bought to clean his windows off to know that man needs some aid. And I definitely did. So I want to highlight the positive this morning is that's neighbors and citizens helping each other. So shout out to that guy that helped me get my car out from underneath. Yes, what a nice guy to under a mound of snow. We got a lot to talk about today. There is so much, and I think as Michael Dean is not here, so Sar and I are both handling this. She's using the trackpad. I was trying to use the mouse. I don't think we have any of our media assets, which is what's going on with that, baby. That's so weird. All the clips that I've made, I can't find them. I think we need to be under here. Do you think they're under here? Guys, if I go away, I promise I still love you. I don't think I will. I'm going to click this button. What was that? Did anything happen? Nothing happened. Okay. We're going to use a showbiz term that says F it. We're just going to go without without any of the stingers that I've taken my time to make. Sorry, everybody's saying hi to you.
Hi, everyone.
That that's SARS cameo. She's here helping me hold it down. So what do we want to talk about? First off, I will say this: we plowed through 4 episodes of the Puffy P Diddy doc, executive produced by none other than 50 Cent. And I said this going before I watched it that I told Tor, I was just like, you can't really, it's not realistic to think that the person that is creating a documentary does not have some kind of slant or some kind of bias. And I was a little worried about that because 50 Cent and P. Diddy have had, dare I say, a blood feud for most of their careers. And so the idea that that would be a fair and balanced doc, I wasn't expecting much. And dare I say, I've been blown away, straight up, just blown away at how well done the documentary was. I don't think that of course, everything's biased. Let me not be ridiculous or pie in the sky, but it does strike me that you can do so much shit in your life that somebody can make a 4-hour documentary about people. Everybody on this thread has done at least one person wrong where you're like, that kind of wasn't great. And maybe that person could talk for 6 minutes about how so-and-so wronged them. And I think, Al cheated me in Uno that one time. And I probably did. All right. You were probably beating me and I got tired of it and I took matters into my own hands. But to be able to have 4 hours of a collection of people from all over the world who have never met each other, all saying this guy was terrible to me, says something about Puffy, but it also and this is what I said to Sar, because they show the, his rise to prominence, and when he was literally just fighting tooth and nail to get an internship at one of the premier rap labels in the country at that point. And Puffy went above and beyond and really impressed the CEO of said record label, and that's how he got his start. But I was saying to Sar, I think everything we see in life is personality types, and the kind of personality type that in a city where everybody wanted to be associated with hip hop, the golden years of hip hop. This was a young, Run DMC and a young LL Cool J, and hip hop was the hot new music of the late '80s, early '90s. For Puffy to rise above all those people, to get that internship and eventually get his own company, that's a personality type that not a lot of people have. And I don't know that once you get to the top that you can turn that off. And the same personality type that can impress a record label CEO to the point where they're like, I got to do something with this kid. I don't know what, but he's got that. I don't know that once you get that mansion and once you get the fame and even the fortune, that you can keep going. I think that personality just keeps running over people until you have so many bodies in your wake that eventually a 4-hour documentary is made and you're jailed for 50 months. So I don't know. I walked away from it with a lot of connections to Puffy that I didn't know, in terms of like things he was on the ground floor of, rappers whose careers he had a hand in. But what really struck me, and Star doesn't have a mic, but I wonder if it hit her the same way. She's a fan of music. She has a wide net of musical interest, but mine has been more hip hop. That somebody at the end of the doc was like, well, some people will say that Puffy is innocent of all these things, but look at the number of people that have come under physical harm, that have been associated with him. And Tupac dead, Biggie dead. His ex-wife Kim Porter is dead. There's this rapper named Craig Mack that he's dead. All of these people are dead or face some kind of life. You look at Cassie and what she was put through. They interviewed for a while the male gigolo that Puffy was hiring, he and Cassie were hiring, and God, I mean, we'll just say different strokes for different folks. But I encourage you guys, you do not have to have a background in hip hop to watch this. You realize like the kind of home that Puffy came out of, it appears to be that his dad was a big time drug dealer that was killed. It appears to be that his mother was a woman that was a woman of the evening. I'll leave it at that because I don't want to disrespect anybody's mama. But, it's a profession like any other. And you think about just entertainers we know that have kind of come up. I think about Richard Pryor, who was famously raised in a brothel, and it affects you later in life because God knows what you're seeing, what you're exposed to, and the kind of people that are passing in and out of those places. How many of those people probably turn their attention to you once your mom was passed out? So I don't know. I think that a lot of the sexual deviance that we saw from Puffy later in life were probably put in place during those wet cement years where whatever you see when you're young kind of becomes hardened and becomes kind of your life's ethos as you move forward. So I encourage you to check it out. I want to move on with a cool singer, but I can't because we don't have one. So I'm just going to transition as we go. We're going to do a little bit serious and a little bit pop culture and a little bit I don't know about that. And so let's do a little bit of I don't know about that. And that's with Travis Kelce. He made some waves recently. There's an article in TMZ where he says that he and his fiancee, Taylor Swift, have never had an argument. And a lot of the comments under that article were like BS or whatever, right? You know, the lie. And I kind of believe him. I'm serious. I think that I can feel Sar looking at me like right here.
Have we ever had an argument?
Yes, we've had an argument, but I think that what happens is the more money you have, there's less shit to fight about. I think that a lot of arguments have to do with finances, have to do with people feeling uncertain about their future. Why did you spend $1,500 on a TV when you know our kids are going to need braces? Those are the kinds of arguments that regular folks have because there's need over want, and you know, people have different visions for the future and what you need now and what you should be saving, and that is the cause of a lot of arguments. A lot of people have come home and had to tell their partner, hey, I got a little crazy at the bar, I bought a round of drinks. I've actually had this argument before in my past drinking days where you go to, it's your turn to buy a round of drinks, and you don't realize that like it comes out to like $120, and you just know like, oh, I'm gonna have to argue about this in about 2.5 hours. Yes, just, you know, some, especially when there's two adults or more, you know, kids involved that have to pull from one pot of money, that anytime money is taken out of there by one party, you're gonna have a little chit chat with the other party about that. But if that pool of money is the size of the Mediterranean Sea, not going to be as many arguments. Probably because neither party knows how much money is in that sea or if somebody has taken it out. That's how you know you got money, when you find out you're being like somebody's embezzling from you and you only find out from your accountant. Like regular folks, you just look at your account and you be like, where's that $5,000? Imagine having so much money that somebody, another person that has no relation to you, has to call you and be like, hey, did you know $100,000 is missing out of this account? And you're like, I've never even heard of that account. That's how much money these people have. So I would be, I would actually tend to believe Travis Kelce that they haven't had an argument. But I would also worry that when you say things like this in publications like TMZ that are read by us regular folks, the proletariat, if you will, I don't know if they're going to scrutinize it enough. And I worry that so many people that do envy their kind of movie like relationship, jock football player marrying the blonde, you know, guitar playing folk singer, you know, I think that they might leave that out, and they might say, oh wait, okay, it says I've had one argument with my boyfriend in 20 years. He went 3 wide at the go-kart track. Not a good move. Listen, he's trying to win. All right, because there's two different kinds of go-kart tracks. All right, there's the one that's kind of fun and your kid is there, and even though it's like, you know, like when you're about to pull in when it's over and then somebody rams you from the back and gives you a little whiplash, and you're like, all right, dude, I was trying to have fun out here. There's those, and then there's the kind of go-kart tracks, and I don't know if this is the kind of go-kart track that you and your boyfriend were in. They're the kind that like they have like real helmets and you're going kind of fast, and it's, you know, I took Elijah to one when he was younger. This might have been 6 years ago. And they actually have like photo finishes and they give you your exact time. And there were people there that were like talking about like how they need to beat their time from next week. And they're like, yeah, on turn 2, I took a little bit of a hairpin turn that cost me 3 minutes, 3 seconds off of the back of manifold. And I'm like, what the F are y'all talking about? I'm here with my son. So I want to know, were you at a serious go-kart track or a goof around go-kart track? Because there's two different kinds. And I will just say this before we move on. You know, if you have made it 20 years and you've been in one fight, that means you've done good, girl. That means you picked the right person and that person appreciates you. We've had non-money arguments.
Arguments not related to money.
Yeah, of course.
So there's
what was our last non-money argument?
The big one, I know you've mentioned it before. You've talked about the show The Bear.
Oh, we had an argument about The Bear, where the show The Bear. Uh, we were watching it for a while, and I think I don't know if I told y'all, colleagues, I just got kind of like. By the way, that's the pharmacy calling me now. I'm at home now. 45 minutes one way doing a show. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, I was so upset. Uh I literally told Sarah, I'm not even okay, I don't even want to say that. But I was very frustrated. But yeah, The Bear, we were watching it and we have wind down shows. We watch Love After Lockup, Breaking Amish. These are shows that we watch late night because we want to wind down. And The Bear is not a wind down show. The Bear was giving me more and more. Yes, and see, I serious track, 55 miles an hour. I knew that was not a fun go-kart track. That's not a go-kart track. That's also like at one of those kiddie parks. That's like a serious adult. Some people have on like racing outfits kind of track. Yeah, but the Bear was not that kind of show. The Bear is like full of anxiety. People are yelling, they're dropping silverware, people are screaming. I got 4 flambés on 3. We're out of duck. Table 13 needs that. And I'm like, yo, DBL is going off the air. I'm like trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, and I don't need this. So like it was like I was like, I don't want to watch The Bear. I don't want to watch The Bear. And she wanted to watch The Bear. And it was like causing strife. And I was just being kind of a dick about it, but I didn't realize that like she was really internalizing, like, because she liked the show. And when I would take shots at it, uh, she took that personally. And what we did was we talked about it. I figured out and got to the bottom of why I didn't want to watch The Bear. And it's because I at that point in my life I was going through a lot of internal stress and didn't want to have that in my ear at 10:45 at night. But we came to the conclusion we were going to watch it. And when I watched it, something beautiful happened. I started to really appreciate the episodes. There was a part where kind of the mess up goofy brother goes to the Michelin star restaurant and sees how they run things, almost like a military academy. Everything is to the T. And I really, really gravitated towards that. I like that part of The Bear. And I thought that was great storytelling, because a lot of times that you'll see in stories that aren't well written, they'll just be like a character like Al, and he doesn't take working in podcasting seriously. And then in 3 episodes, I'm telling Tori, hey, we got to take this serious, but they don't spend the time to show my character build up to the fact that like, I realized that this is something important that I'm doing. And I appreciate that the Bear did that. They took his character, who was kind of a mess up, goofball, F up character, and put him in an environment where he saw what it was like to strive and refuse to get nothing but absolute perfection. And then they put him back in his original environment, and his environment was the same, but he was different, and it caused a change in the restaurant. So I really appreciated that. And I've been on board since. So with that said, let us move on. And when I say move on, let's get on up. And when I say get on up, I'm talking about President Trump. Your boy has been sleeping a lot. I'll say this. Last couple of years at DBL, when Biden was still president, he was clearly showing signs of getting older. There was a siren call from the right every single time it appears that he was disoriented, if he appeared sleepy, if he was talking slower. Yeah, we can't have the president. He's wandering away from Air Force One. He doesn't know where he is. Donald Trump is falling asleep regularly in meetings with cameras on him. He fell asleep right next to Marco Rubio a couple of days ago. I really haven't seen a lot of clips of him in meetings where he's not falling asleep. And this makes sense because we didn't get to the story yesterday, but Donald Trump, between, I believe, 7 p.m. and midnight, not last night, but the night before, tweeted 160 times. I heard numbers between 160 and 400. A lot of his posts were he sent the same post twice on True Social, but you can go look this up. And I think what we have is a president that is staying up all night, like I used to have friends watching movies or playing video games, and then all of a sudden in English class, he's head back. Julia said he fell asleep in the cabinet meeting where everybody. It's so weird. They're all kissing the king's ring, and the king is asleep. And I'm just like, where are the people on the right that were going crazy when Joe Biden would just appear to be a little slow? If Joe Biden had fallen asleep for the last couple days in a meeting, there would have been calls from people on the panel that I was on, as well as people writing in, how could you leftists never address when Biden? I'm like, what's up now? This is kind of why people had a problem with Jake Tapper in his book after, that came out maybe 6-8 months ago, where he was talking about how people in the White House hid Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis and like whatever his was going on with him cognitively. And I think the issue with what people like Jake Tapper don't understand is that there's no other side to that. If there was a Jake Tapper on the right that was like, hey, Trump doesn't seem to be up to the task lately, I'd be fine with that. But when it's always just so one-sided and left presidents, Democratic presidents can get in trouble. I remember Obama wore the taupe suit. That was a shitstorm on Fox News. He saluted a soldier while holding a cup of coffee. Shitstorm. Oh, what are we going to do? He doesn't like our troops and he doesn't care. Donald Trump, remember he went to Arlington National Cemetery. He knocked over the woman that's tasked to keep that space sacred, to not make it a place where people have photo ops. It's a very sacred space with a lot of fallen soldiers, and you're not supposed to shoot commercials or take pictures there. They did all that. There was no pushback from that. Trump called our military's members losers and chumps or something like that, and there's no pushback from that. So this is why I say, colleagues, we have to always be down to keep everybody and hold everybody to tasks. I don't care what kind of political affiliation you have, but quite frankly, the other side doesn't care what their president does. It doesn't care that they're still sitting on the largest sex trafficking cover up in our nation's history. Like, this will be in textbooks, and yet they still haven't released anything. So I just, I think it takes the kind of person that is fine with sitting on the Epstein files to even be in an administration like this. And we just have to be conscious that, yes, we can hold our side accountable for things that they do, because people on the left, anybody in politics is not above reproach, but just understand that the other side, they have no guardrails. And so we have to keep from letting our inner Jake Tapper out and just having it where, we're writing books about Biden, but there'll never be a book about Trump except for how awesome he is. All right. Speaking of awesome, Bad Bunny has replaced Taylor Swift as the most streamed artist on, is it Spotify or YouTube? Let me look. I think it's on YouTube.
Spotify Wrapped came out.
It's what?
Spotify Wrapped.
What? Spotify Wraps, like the year end of the year wrap up?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, maybe we should do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Everybody should tell us what their Spotify Wrap should be. I don't know. It's probably a bunch. I don't even know. I haven't listened to a lot of Spotify this year. I think that's how you know you're getting older. It's probably like when you're 15. Okay, so yeah, Spotify. Bad Bunny took over Taylor Swift as the most streamed artist in the world. So shout out to Bad Bunny. And it made sense because I remember when we were doing the story about MAGA going crazy about him doing halftime, I was like, well, I don't know much of his catalog. Let me check it out. And I have never seen so many music videos that had a B next to views. Like when you see sometimes you'll see a video and you're like, man, this has 700 million streams. Like that's crazy. Like he has multiple songs that have more than 2 or 3 billion views, which I didn't even know was possible. But it's only what 8.5 billion people on the planet. So that means almost everybody has heard your song and been like, I like that. Not good enough for Mag. Imagine that. Imagine you're the most streamed artist ever, and somebody still doesn't think you qualify to do the Super Bowl. What else could you do? I guess they just maybe don't want you. Shout out. Marcy says she only listens to jazz on Spotify. I love it. I'm gonna really date myself here, but I don't care. I used to really like Pandora's suggestions because I found a lot of artists that I liked because Pandora was very good at suggesting to me artists that were very similar to the one that I was listening to. And I don't find that with Spotify. Spotify seems a lot more like a record store. Like it's just like, here's you're listening to the 42nd most popular rapper. Here's the 41st and the 40th. Like it doesn't, Spotify, like, Pandora's box. Pandora really did a good job of recommending artists to me, and then I would play them, and my friends would be like, "Where'd you find this?" I'm like, "I got my ear to the streets, like play you some stuff you never heard before." But it was all Pandora's doing. So is Pandora still a thing, Sar? I think it is. Maybe I'll go back to Pandora. Yeah, Shawnee says she still uses Pandora. Okay, good. I don't feel so bad. Like, why do we have to be sheep and move on? I don't like Spotify that much. I don't know. I don't like their logo. It just looks like something that says, I don't know. It just looks weird. I don't like their logo. I don't like a lot of their politics. They let a lot of stuff slide with Rogan's podcast, all that misinformation. And if you think that wasn't on purpose, he is a mouthpiece for certain outlets. Let's just say that. There's a reason that just random guys end up having the president on their show. How'd that happen? Oh, dumb luck. Oh, okay.
And for the 6th year, that was the top podcast.
Joe Rogan was the top podcast. Oh, that's so interesting. What are the chances? A guy that doesn't read and has been proven wrong. When we were on DBL, we had so many people that would be fact checking us before the show, during the show, during commercial breaks. So if I said something wrong, if I said, "Hey, it is good to be here in the snowiest December on record here in Colorado," by the time we got back from commercial, I would have had 2 producers in my ear saying, "Actually, December of 1988, there was the most snowfall in Denver," and there would be a correction. You ever notice that there's none of that with Joe Rogan when he says something wrong? He just says something erroneous to a couple 100 million people, and it just sits there. Sometimes that almost seems like a lie that's told to a lot of people, and then it's never corrected until later there's a weird retraction. There's a reason for all of this stuff, but I don't want to talk too much about that because I don't care too much about that guy. We did talk about our sleepy president, and now I want to talk to something that I know is going to get a lot of y'all up out the chat because this is gross, but it's a thing. And I wanted to talk to you guys about this and why we may be seeing this article. And basically, I found this article on Yahoo because I'm 700 years old, and it is the rise of Scromiting. That's right, Scromiting. It is a mixture of screaming while you're vomiting, and it's caused by weed sickness. I'll say that again. Scromiting is a mixture of screaming while you're vomiting, and it comes from weed sickness. Basically, the summary is emergency rooms are seeing a spike in cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, CHS, cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, colloquially known as scromiting, screaming plus vomiting. Thank you. caused by long-term use of high-potency marijuana. Who wrote this? Somebody's granddad that was in the DEA? Oh God. The condition leads to uncontrollable, painful vomiting that can only be soothed by scalding hot showers. It is a harsh reality check for the weed is harmless narrative as potency levels in modern cannabis skyrocket. Now, why would I not only bring this article to you guys, but also give it the time of day to discuss it? And it's because we have to know, especially when you look at articles like this, that a lot of the information that is in front of our eyeballs or going into our earballs is bought and paid for by somebody. This was on Yahoo or like a major site. I didn't get this from like some random site, but this is clearly not true. Because you've never talked to anybody and said, "How was your weekend?" "Terrible. My boyfriend scromited all weekend." And I remember if Judge Judy said something, I'll never forget, and I've said it a million times. If something doesn't make sense, it's not true. And what doesn't make sense about this is that I've never heard of it. None of you have ever heard of it. No one's ever been like, "Oh, scromiting." So then why will we be talking about this now? Because I'm sure some major alcohol lobbyist, they pay for articles like this. They pay private labs to scare the American public because you can tell that all these people are coming for legalized marijuana. Do you think Budweiser and Corona and Seagram's gin want you high? No, Doug. They want you drunk. They want you drunk. They want you driving because that's going to be revenue for the city, DUIs, jail time, court-appointed, classes. They want you drunk. They want you in a bar fight. Hey, you have a fight on Friday. We'll see you in court for an arraignment on Monday. You don't want a citizenry that is at home, high, watching Rocky 3. There's no money in that. We want our citizens boozed up and balled up fists. And you can tell that with a lot of our states, like the one I was just in Texas. Doesn't the Texas say, "Hey, this is freedom, Jack. If you can't handle it, get out." But guess what you can't do? You can't gamble on most of the sites in there. You can't buy legal weed. What you can do is you can go get beer and have at it. The idea of freedom is so interesting as it goes down state to state. It's like the ones that scream most about freedom are the ones that you can do the least in. I find that interesting. But I will just say scromiting is not a real thing. And when you see any article that uses things like the condition leads to uncontrollable, painful vomiting that can only be soothed by scalding hot showers, stop. And whenever your friend is like, "Have you heard about scromiting?" you'd be like, I'm going to stop you right there. Okay. So that's why I brought that up. So we just realized that a lot of times when we're reading stuff, it's not always between the lines. Sometimes it's out of control. Speaking of out of control,
What's your second favorite thing Judge Judy said?
what's my second favorite thing Judge Judy said? You picked him. So are you just asking me? Oh, I thought somebody in the chat said that. No, Judge Judy has had a profound effect on my life. And yes, oh, by the way, those do sound like the sound effects on Farmer. Yes. If you find yourself scromiting, get into a scalding shower. That is such bullshit. It's such a, like, no one has ever been like, "My girlfriend was scromiting, so I got her into a scalding shower and she said thank you." It's nonsense. But yes, I also use Judge Judy's phrase, "You picked him," because anytime somebody's got a shitty boyfriend and they're like, "I can't believe he stole my car," you picked him. And it's a little bit of accountability. And shout out to Judge Judah Scheinlin for that. What were we talking about? We were talking about things being out of control. And when I say out of control, I mean Wamos. That's right. Have you guys heard of Waymos? Those cars, uh, they they're like cars that have gigantic GPSs on the outside of them, and they have no driver, and you just get in and you're just driven places. In it looks like it looks like like a matchbox car, and your friend was like, "I'm gonna glue some cool shit onto this car," and you're like, "You're gonna mess it up," and they're like, "It's fine," and then they just put a white Lego on top, and they're like, "Isn't this better?" And you're like, "No." That's what Waymo cars look like. They look like a child with ADHD got started on them and then quit. They're weird looking cars, but do I want to get in one? Yes. Have Sarah and I already talked about taking them when we go the next time we go to spring training? Yes, because they're in certain cities, they're everywhere. We were in Scottsdale, Arizona. Are they in your yes? What wait. Jag and AZ says in Phoenix they use Jaguars. I who said I'd scrum it if I rode in a driverless car? You say that now, Stacy. I'm telling you, I want to get in one. It would be weird though, because at least when there's an Uber driver, you have the feeling of just like some control, but a Waymo, you're just in there. And that's kind of where the story takes us today, because this out of control Waymo blocks a vice pres VP motorcade and traps its passengers. So I'll just read the summary. The driverless car anxiety is hitting a fever pitch after after a Waymo vehicle malfunctioned and blocked former VP Kamala Harris's motorcade in San Francisco. This joins a string of incidents where autonomous vehicles have inadvertently taken passengers on confusing routes or stalled in critical areas. If an AI car can halt the VP, what happens when it malfunctions with you inside? And that's the thing. It's not that you're like, oh my goodness, I'm blocking a major motorcade or even a funeral. Imagine like you're blocking like the motorcade of like a decorated military officer, and people are just like screaming at you, and you can't do anything because the doors are locked. I'm assuming the windows are locked in the up position. So you're just sitting in the car saying, I'm sorry. I support, thank your uncle for what he did. And you have to just sit in that car and have people take pictures and scream at you and give you the finger. I mean, I know we're having fun in here talking about like, I don't know if I take a Waymo. Do you guys remember how crazy it was when the idea of Uber first came out? I remember talking to friends. I'm like, okay, hold on. I'm going to get a stranger to give me a ride in their car, not a taxi. I'm just going to get in the back of their Honda Civic. And 3 years later, you have 2,700 rides under your belt. And it couldn't be more pedestrian for us to be taking Ubers and Lyfts. So, by the way, does anybody remember Sidecar? Sorry, do you remember Sidecar? You do? Okay, good. Sidecar was like the Uber and Lyft that didn't take off. I just remember I took a couple in like when I was in San Francisco years ago, and then it just, I don't know, went out of business. But yeah, I just wonder, I think when I watch Black Mirror episodes, they're always in kind of futuristic Waymo cars. There's no driver. I mean, we're already at the point where drones are dropping off people's packages. The idea of driverless flight is not that crazy. I don't think the idea of driverless cars, I mean, it's already here. So put 5 more years on that technology, where are we going to be? How long until none of us are ever driving? I think maybe in the next 20 to 25 years, do you think driving will just kind of go the way of somebody that is almost like a survivalist? Like it's a novelty. Like you can go stay in a house anytime you want, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna go rough it. I'm gonna go live outside tonight. I'm gonna go make my own fire and catch my own food. I wonder if driving is gonna be like that, because all it's gonna take is one generation of people that not only grow up with Uber, but also grow up with Waymo. So they might not even have a daddy or a mama or an auntie to show them how to drive. So now you have, because I have friends that don't have driver's licenses, but they lived in New York and cities where you almost can't even have a car, DC, stuff like that. So you have a whole generation of people that do not learn how to drive. They just do not. My kids have very little interest in driving. My daughter goes to school on the East Coast. My son could give a shit. He's doing his driver's ed, but it's not like we were, where when we were 15 years old, the day that you were legally allowed to get your driver's ed permit or your driver's permit, that you would be in, you would get your certificate like that morning. We already have a generation of kids that don't care that much about driving. So what about when they have kids? Their kids are gonna be in a world where a lot of people do not drive and have never driven. And then their kids, nobody will ever drive. So I think we're only like 2 generations away. My kids, so my great grandkids, I think will grow up in a world that does not have people driving cars unless it's like I said, a novelty thing. Like the same way people like, you know, pickle their own vegetables, or like it's like a throwback thing, but it's not something that people do because they have to. I love driving as well. Who said yes, and yes, there are helicopter Ubers in New York. My friend Brian, who was in San Francisco, they have those little robots. They look like almost like little, I wouldn't say garbage cans, but they look like they're like rectangular, and they have wheels on both sides, and they just take, if I wanted to deliver send some Ensure to Tori because she's out of her Ensure and she doesn't feel well enough to leave her place. I could just send one of those Amazon robots and it'll just go. And so,
Helicopter Uber.
oh, a helicopter Uber. I know, but oh, you're talking about like a helicopter pilot?
To take an Uber to go to the airport in a helicopter.
I'm not getting in a helicopter. How about that? They're terrifying. Yeah, I don't know. I've never been in a helicopter. I feel like I need to do that one time, but
According to some article.
wait, you said what?
It's on the Uber app now.
Oh, it's on the app.
Yeah.
You can just go get in a helicopter?
Think so?
All right, I'm talking a bunch of shit. I would go do that. Just to go pull up in a spot. Back when I was single, I'd just land on the roof of the nightclub and a girl's like, "Where's your car?" And I'd be like, "It's up there on the roof. Let's go." And then she'd be like, "Get away from me." All right. Let's get into this. My girl, your girl, Jada Pinkett Smith has had quite a half decade, shall we say. Jada Pinkett, we can just title this You Will Catch a Bullet. Apparently, there's a $3 million lawsuit filed by a former close friend of Will Smith, Bilal Salam. He's filed a $3 million lawsuit against Jada. He says that in 2021, she cornered him with an entourage and threatened him that he would end up missing or catch a bullet if he didn't sign an NDA regarding her personal life. The lawsuit paints a picture of a mafia-style intimidation behind the scenes of one of Hollywood's famous first families. Now, do I believe that happened? Absolutely. Do I think that's worth $3 million? Absolutely not. Maybe bring that down. Just try and get like 100K and be like, "Hey, you can't talk to me like that." But I don't know if that's $3 million worth. What I think we are learning is that whatever was going on in Will and Jada's house, and I think we're seeing this with a lot of powerful people. It's all good when it's good. When you're on top of the world, when you are making Independence Day, and what's Bad Boys, and you are the most famous guy in the world. You have all the money in the world. You're untouchable. You don't have to threaten people not to talk, because when you're at the top of the food chain, nobody's going to say anything. Just proximity and access to you and your family and to your network is worth the price of silence for whatever you've done. And we've learned that with all these famous people that have later been exposed as people that have done a lot of terrible things. What happens is sometimes when you're at the top of the world, you're at an award show and you separate your soul from your body and you walk up and you smack Chris Rock on live international television and you do this thing. This is an industry term. You do this thing called tanking your career. You guys got that? I know you colleagues, I'm not expecting you guys all to be able to get this showbiz talk. It's called shit canning your career. That's what Will Smith did. I mean, I think about that a lot. A lot. That wasn't just a news story to me. That was the end of at least the first chapter of Will Smith's life, where you can argue no one has ever reached that level. He has arguably the most iconic 90s sitcom ever. That is on the table. You can make the argument that that is as influential, as popular as Friends or Seinfeld. That's on the table. He had one of the most successful hip hop careers ever. Ever. DJ Jazzy Jeff is still a famous DJ. Iconic songs, Summertime. And then you can make the argument. You've got a couple people, Tom Cruise, maybe The Rock, where he had the most successful film career ever. Ever. He might have had the best career ever up until he wanted Chris Rock to keep his wife's name out his mouth. And he went up and smacked his career away. Thank you, Sar, for that laugh. I mean, really. I think that it is not spoken about the decorum and the class in which Chris Rock handled that, because that could have gotten really ugly. Maybe Chris Rock knew that he would get his ass kicked, but I also think that Chris Rock just knew where he was and understood the social relevance of what would have happened if two of the world's most famous black men had gotten into a fist fight on a catwalk on the world's largest stage. So shout out to Chris Rock for putting the kibosh on that and handling it the way comics do, waiting a year and a half and then dropping a special. But, Will Smith smacked his career away. And guess what happens when you're not on top anymore? When people aren't worried about having access to you or your network, little fissures. Remember when everything was so airtight? Hey, we're a family here. We don't let anything leak out. No one lets things leak out when you're on top of the world. When things are going down, now all of a sudden it comes out that your wife was hooking up with your son's friend that was over at the house. Remember that? Now it comes out that somebody that was very close to your family might have some information that they might like to share with the publication. And it doesn't surprise me that if this should be true that Jada approached him, that you realize that this isn't about friendship. This is about keeping control of what you have left, and that's your public image. And I think when somebody's threatening to expose and maybe shine a light on who you are, what you are, as opposed to what you tell the public that you are, I could see that sparking somebody rolling up Al Capone style and saying, if you keep talking, you're going to sleep with the fishes. And I think that's what happened with our girl there. So with that said, good luck to the Smith family. I think they're very talented. I love Willow's music. I bought Jaden's album. It was good. It had a great song on it. And I think they're a very talented family. I think they need to I think they need to get a divorce. That idea about like, hey, we don't divorce in this family. Maybe you should. Maybe you should. Do you think when people have to get amputations, they're like, well, no, my plan is to keep all my limbs. Sometimes the doctor's like, for you to have a high quality of life, maybe we need to cut here below the knee. And you know what? I'm sure there's a lot of pushback. Talk to them a year later. They're running in a damn 5K, people skiing with no legs. You adapt, but it's because you got rid of the appendage that wasn't working. And the Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith marriage does not seem to be working very well because you're banging your son's friends in casa. Okay. That's your first sign that things are not going well. So I just say, Will Smith, as a human, I hope that you move on and you let her move on. And maybe you guys find some peace and maybe come back together later. But right now, I think this iteration of you guys is over. Speaking of over, um, is the U.S. done committing war crimes? Because I don't think we are. We are apparently killing fishermen in the Caribbean. I speak for all of us when I say it's about damn time. You know, I talk to you colleagues, and I know that we all share the same frustration, and it's fishermen who love being out on the water, fishing and providing for their families. It must come to an end. And luckily, we have dragged our Secretary of War face down in a pool of his own vomit from whatever dive bar he was in to start making war plans over Twitter, to start just bombing drug boats. That's not how surveillance works. That's not how carrying out or eliminating a target works. You can't just say they have drugs on that boat, so we're allowed to kill them. What if police did that? What if they were like, this is a suspected drug house, and then a cop in the back seat pulled out a bazooka and shot a missile through that house? No warrant, no evidence, just somebody had told us they're selling some dope in here. And that's enough for a death sentence? I don't think that's how that works. I am actually quite happy that even though we're in a situation where it's a Republican controlled House, a Republican controlled Senate, uh, an unbelievably corrupt Supreme Court. Jeez, I mean, I wouldn't let the Supreme Court judge a wet t-shirt contest if they're I don't think that they are capable of doing anything that Trump, when he's awake, would tell them to do or not to do. And even during these tough times, there's still enough scrutiny where you know that Pete Hegseth is covering his ass because he's saying that his Admiral Bradley actually authorized that killing. You talk about passing the buck, bro. You're the secretary, not of defense, of war. What is this, fucking Thor? I'm the secretary of war. These people are so embarrassing. I think that's what bothers me so much, is I'm so embarrassed. They're not even like tough guys. Like Pete Hegseth he's an alcoholic. Kash Patel looks like one of those crazy dudes where you have to pull your daughter out of college for a semester because she's got a stalker and the police can't get a hold of him. Kash Patel looks like that guy. He looks like a mule kicked him. I just thought that, like, when we would be taken over by a corrupt force, I thought they would be more attractive, and I thought they would be smarter, and I thought they would be more cunning. And it's just a collection of dumbbells. And I think that's the weirdest thing is like now, like you ever go back and watch Die Hard? And the guys that they were like German or something, the guys that took over the Nakatomi Tower, and there was like a guy in the van, and they had those skinny earpieces, and they were like very profound. I think they all had on black, and they planned everything out, and like they just were on it, even though they didn't. Even like the leader that was like a mean, cold guy, he was like well thought out, and like I don't know. Thank the Lord for Bruce Willis defeating them, giving us the Nakatomi Towers back, and Carl Winslow from Family Matters, coming through. At least if we had lost, I've been like, yeah, we're now run by a German criminal enterprise, but look how well dressed these guys are. Like Trump's asleep. Cash Patel is just he constantly looks like when you wake somebody up and they've been under the influence of something for a long time. He's like, no, what? I'm up. I'm good. I just need some coffee. He always looks like that. Uh, Pete Hegseth. Oh, now they can't stop calling me about my prescription. We're going to take this call right now. Hold on one second. Yeah, talk to people.
Oh, no.
Hello?
I'm gonna talk to the.
Yes. Hi, how are you? Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. I'll be there to pick. I just want to say thank you so much for all that you've done for me. You were just like you have no idea how much I appreciate you. Thank you, Noah. You have a great night. Thanks. Bye. All right. Thank you. Bye. All right, colleagues. We keep it real here. SAR's over here sitting next to me like a stage mom. That's just like a smile. No, I wanted to say that because you know what? Shout out to Noah at the King Supers on Mississippi and Havana, the most diverse place in Denver by a mile. I drive 30 minutes to go see color. I'll do it. I just hang out and there's people in hijabs. There's Haitian folks in there. It's like I was living in Miami. I feel at home there. You know, and there's a woman named Noah who has been, like, she has been look at all these text messages that this woman, this is my pharmacist who does not know me. Look at all these text because she gives a shit. And I needed my prescriptions and she really came through for me. So I wanted to say her name on air. Shout out to Noah and shout out to the King Supers on Havana and Mississippi. If you guys are anywhere in the area, go by there and be like, hey, Noah, you don't know me. And no, I don't have a prescription here. No, you don't need to call security. I just want to say I'm a colleague and I want to give you a shout out. So you'll probably be arrested. Sarah and I will be there to bail you out, depending on how much your bail is and what your previous charges were. Colleagues, I appreciate y'all. Right. Sarah, why don't you do Tori's job? Why don't you find a fun fact for us? Okay. And yes. Okay. So we're going to do one fun fact before we get out. Yes. And Julia, her name is Noah Noha, which I thought was so sweet. And honestly, thank you. I appreciate you guys saying what I'm saying about Noah sweet, but I appreciate her, y'all. You know, in a world where everything is so chat GPT'd out, I'm sorry, sir, I can no longer help you with that. You need to call tomorrow. Call it. Shut. I just like when somebody's like, hold on, dog. I'm going to figure this out for you. That means something to me. This woman called me twice during this show. It's just like, it makes me feel special. And it makes me feel like there's somebody that still does care. And I think I've brought this up before, but we talked about this, colleagues. We had an issue with the toilet here at the condo. And, you know, you guys have met Lamb. She's so sweet. She doesn't want to argue. And there was a back and forth with the HOA and things were getting escalated and everything was like very chat GPT'd. Well, I don't think you're handling this matter. And then there was somebody on the HOA's end that clearly caught up on all the emails between Sarah and the HOA, realized that Sarah was making a very reasonable request. And the email came back and it was clearly written by a person. It was like, hey, sorry about this. And it just sounded like a person. And they were like, hey, we didn't realize this had been going on for that long. Give us an estimate and we'll get this figured out. And then I could just see the relief on Sar's face because it's been building. Sar does not like confrontation. She's a pacifist. Sar should be like in the 1700s, just like working in a village, like so happy. Just like look at the nice breeze coming in off in the valley today. Like Sar doesn't want beef. And when this person responded like, hey, no beef, let's get this fixed. it makes the world move a little bit better. And that's all I want to do is I just want to get things to move a little bit better. And people like Noah and people like y'all really do reaffirm my position that this crazy world we live in is worth saving because there's a lot of good people out here. All right, Sar, are you going to reach your hand right in front of the screen? Right, there's one place where the camera is. What are you reaching for?
The microphone.
Okay. Oh, she wants the micro. Sar just reached her hand in front of the what are you doing? Okay.
It's because I need to read it off the screen over here. Okay. I found this fact and I have a follow-up. This is why I chose it. Okay. There's an orchestra made up entirely of typewriters.
Ooh.
Since 2004, the Boston Typewriter Orchestra has been playing concerts, making and performing music by only using vintage typewriters. The various sounds of clacking, sliding carriages, bells, and spinning rollers contribute to the orchestra's unique sound, according to Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Okay. And I will say this with 100% certainty, that orchestra is brought to you by autism. All right, there is no way that orchestra exists without people on the spectrum all focusing in and figuring out those noises. And do you know why I know that that's brought to you by autism? Because as soon as she said that, I was like, I would go see that 100%. That sounds so cool. Okay.
So it reminded me of this thing called the bowed piano that we had at the college I went to, Colorado College, shout out, where they took the top off the piano and there's 12 people total that stand around and they pluck the strings, they use bows, and they make all these different sounds. And the guy who created it has won tons of awards. It was really
where
cool.
Can they find that? What's the YouTube clip?
You'd have to look it up on Google, bowed piano.
We'll have it for you tomorrow. We usually just like to tell our viewers to look it up. All right. What do you guys want from us? All right. Not your mother. All right. But yes, I remember when Sar and I first met, I was like, who's this little cutie? She showed me the bow piano. It's really cool. You've never seen anything like it. Trust me. All right. So with that said, colleagues, I'm going to be here tomorrow. I really hope that you guys are as well. Guys, we made it through. And let's just say this is a cold winter because we didn't have Michael Dean. We didn't have Tori. We did not have any media assets. We didn't have any stingers, but we did have Alan Sar. And we do have this light right here that's like I'm at TJ Maxx. I don't know why it's focused on me like that. And we got y'all, colleagues, straight up, no jokes. I love y'all for coming. Tomorrow will be a new day. It'll be a better day. Let's hang on. Like I said, this world is worth saving. My prescriptions are ready. Holy S. And with that, I guess I'm going to say we're out. But I wanted to do that and then get out, but then I can't find it. So now I have to end the stream like this. I'll see y'all tomorrow. I love y'all so much, colleagues. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I love y'all. See you tomorrow. I still can't. God dang it. I'm the worst. I love y'all.